right, folks, we're gonna concentrate on the roses today. It is mid-May. It's a great time to fertilize them, but the first thing that I'm going to have to do is, as my friend says, shovel prune this rose. I don't want to really shovel prune it yet, but I want to get it out of here, and I'll show you why. Anybody who grows roses will know this. Most of the roses that I read are black spot resistant. They have a nice sheen to the leaf, and you'll see that this one that was sent to me, I think this is a Bella rose. I'll have to get you the exact name. Love the color. You can see the blooms are coming out, but look at the black spot on this. This is a fungus, and it plagues roses. And basically, if the spores go out, it could infect the other roses. Luckily, I don't see any black spot on my roses, but I don't want to take chances. As I said, it came with a stem that had black spot on it. Not normally a rose seller, so maybe the folks who sent it was like, you know, because if I were a seller, I would not sell any roses that had visible signs of black spot. We had a lot of rain as well, so 9 days of rain, then we had a little bit of sun, and then we had like 4 days of rain, and we're supposed to get rain more. And what could happen is that the fungus finds that to be really great conditions, and then it will spread its spores over to other roses. And this bed mainly has roses. It's been flowering lovely, so I don't want to totally toss it yet. I think maybe I'll clean it up, meaning I'll see how much I could take off. I'm afraid that there's only some little bits of leaves that don't have black spot, but if the whole thing is unsalvageable and I have to cut off all the stems and the leaves, it's going to be really, really unfortunate. And I just got this one this year, so I don't think it's going to be rooted in like crazy. Now, you may ask yourself, well, should you take any of the mulch around this? No, but you'll notice that there are leaves here. And those leaves should definitely be not even composted, they should be thrown away. So, well, this did root quite nicely in here. You see that the roots are growing like this. And I'm going to remove all these leaves just like this, making sure, because I do want to plant another rose here. But again, those leaves will just be susceptible to spreading black spot. So I'm gonna move this over to the front of the house now, just so I could take care of not spreading to the other roses. And like I said, I mean, look at that beautiful color. It's like this beautiful rougey red, tinges into purple. Okay, in the meantime, let's inspect the other roses just to make sure that they don't have black spot. Maybe I'm gonna be kind of paranoid and change my gloves because I handled that. Doesn't help that we had so much rain for these roses. The other thing you could do is make sure that there's enough airflow between the stems. So if it's a rose that's really cramped, or if you have your roses planted with a lot of plants around it, which these roses are going to billow out and they're going to be planted in with the rest of the plants, then there could be a lack of airflow. That would promote some of the fungus, but there's nothing we could do about the rain. And I'm not going to complain too much because you could see how much growth we've had just within the last week. I mean, every day it's been quite a bit of rain and then a little bit of sun. Like right now, it was really great and rainy this morning, but it's beautiful sun right now. What I'm gonna do is fertilize the roses and I fertilize them throughout the spring and summer months because quite frankly, they're heavy feeders compared to like most of the plants. So that's a downside if you, I grow a lot of native perennial plants. We do have some native roses, but these are hybridized bred roses. We have some of our native roses around the half lake up there, around the body of water. They're not as frilly. They have the 5 petals, they have the stamens that spiral around. These are bred to be a bit more frilly. So this one right here, this is the Rise Up Lilac Days Rose. So this is my newer one. So I had my pink Scotch rose, which is here. Now I have these caged because before we finished our deer fence, I had these caged in. Now you can see there's a lot of dead stems. So what I'm going to do is just clip some of these off down to as far as I could go. Now I tried to come out here early in the spring, cut off all the dead stems. Sometimes you can't tell what's not going to be alive and well. It's usually these black stems, but we have pretty good growth on the rest of it, even up here. Let's just clip that off. Clip these really weak stems off. And again, this doesn't look like it has any black spot, which is a really good sign. And so what you want to do is about 1 1/4 cup. I'm using rose tone. So this is by Espoma Organic. And you just spread it. Hopefully, I had a measuring cup, but I can't find the 1 cup in the kitchen. I think Sonder tends to
use it for the concrete.
Sonder tends to use it for the concrete, and I can't use it for kitchen stuff anymore. So I'm just gonna estimate. You don't want to get too close to the roots, but you still want it, you know, around the roots. I just don't want to fertilize the stem or burn the leaves or anything like that. And this is the first time this year that I'm fertilizing this. So it's, like I said, it's mid-May. Still gonna get some of these dead stems off. Now the pink Scotch rose was there, but this is more of like a kind of a rambler. Like even if you planted it over a small fence or a stone wall, this would look really great. I just wanted to kind of ramble through the garden. Now it was here, but I wanted this obelisk. When I got this obelisk, I put the obelisk here. Didn't look great. I loved it towards the end, so that's why I actually transplanted that. And then this one, as I mentioned, is the Rise Up Lilac Days, which I think is a new variety. And I have it training on this trellis along with some of the clematis. So you'll see that I have lots of different types of clematis that are growing around. Now, one was in bloom the other day. Looks like there's some more buds coming. This one's blooming right now. I'll have to get you the name of that one. It's got a really beautiful purplish fuchsia color. And this will be great to water in, but you know what? We're gonna get some rain again soon. So I may not need to do that. Let me show you some of the others. And I'm gonna continue to keep this closed until further notice, until it maybe outgrows. Rabbits could eat it, but I think there's so much other things that are good for the rabbits to eat in the grass that they probably wouldn't bother it. Because we do have a rabbit that's kind of skulking around this area. I mean, chickens love to eat it. That's something I know. They love rose leaves. So you'll notice now that this one, no black spot, thank goodness. And you'll see that it has this kind of shininess to the leaf. You see that? Especially in the sun, this kind of reflection. That little bit of wax makes many of these roses less susceptible to black spot. You'll see that we have some beautiful buds coming here, so it'll be flowering in no time. I'm not sure the name of this. You know, there are some dead leaves on the bottom. I'm just gonna pull those off. These are weeds coming up. Now you might want to open this plant up a little bit if you feel like there's too much clutter, but there's so many beautiful buds on here that I'm not going to bother to do that right now. This plant looks great. I actually came out here in earlier spring and I started to clip off any of the dead looking stems, so I think I did pretty good on this one. I do find a lot of these fences to be very distracting. I took off quite a lot now that we have the deer fence. This is another one. A lot of the blooming ones that I have here have lavender or lilac tones. So I'm going with like a bit more kind of purple. And you can see again, this one is likely resistant to black spot because of the shininess of the leaves. So I could usually tell. This one has a nice bud starting here. I'll be able to identify these a lot better when I should have tags next to them, but you can see that I had cut off some of the dead stems here earlier on. Okay. This one's also looking good. Some stems are taking the lead. There are some dead and dying parts right here that I could just clearly take off. They're just leaves that are not getting enough sunlight. And again, these were planted last year, so they're not big plants, but we're just starting out. The wisteria are coming in. It's funny because this one must take all the sun because the sister over there to this plant is always later. This is called either popcorn drift or buttered popcorn. It kind of goes by both names. And you may have seen this in the last episode, but it kind of has these orangish yellow peachy buds. And then it slowly fades into this yellow colored, like buttered popcorn. I think it's a great name. And then to white, this creamy white, then to these whitish pinks. I think it's really beautiful. And again, shiny leaf, no black spot. You know, it's so hard if you have to decide to throw that one away because you paid money for it. But if you keep it too close to your roses, then there may be some challenge there. And I'll replace another rose in there. I don't have another rose this quite yet. But what I'm gonna do is plant it in there. Obviously make sure that all the leaves are gone. Here's another one that I found. And then I'm gonna mulch it. I'm gonna mulch it pretty well so that it keeps the black spot down. The black spot can survive in the soil, but not that long. So it's usually advised just to kind of clean up that superficial part of the soil. But especially for folks who have lots of plants planted together, I mean, these beds are still so new. They're only 6 months old, so there's quite a lot of space. It'll be easier to clean up some of the mulch, but for those folks who have all of a sudden a rose with black spot in a very like thickly, densely planted perennial bed, it doesn't make sense to remove all the soil. So I have some of our mulch from up top. It's kind of our mulch and compost, and I would just like basically refill that hole. Now, I said I was concentrating on roses today, and I'm not totally lying, but we're gonna look at the apples too. And apples actually happen to be in the Rosaceae family. So we have these beautiful espalier apples, and I'm gonna see if I could open these up because it'll just be easier for me to work. And we're going to clip them and train them because they haven't been clipped or trained at all this year. All right, so let's take a look at this. I have some tape to train this, and you can see that this is starting to grow out, and I want to be able to train this down so it goes flat. Anything that is growing outwards, and everything here looks good, but you want to make sure that this still goes straight, or else it'll go up or in a direction that you don't want.
So you want it horizontal?
Sorry, yeah, horizontal. I mean on a straight plane.
Up or down?
Yeah. Now I could train it up if I want it to be a bit more like this.
Right, okay.
Now this is interesting. If you come here, I have two that are kind of growing out. I have this one and this one that's growing out. Let me take off my gloves so you can see. They're kind of at a cross here. So both are kind of competing. So I'm gonna cut this one off so that I could just keep this one going. The other one I didn't want to compete.
So how far left will it grow? Like how far
It'll
horizontal?
It should keep on just growing and growing.
Does
if you
it
keep
grow
on
more in the middle too and go up?
No.
Or does it get taller at all?
No. They cut off the top of this. This one I'm gonna cut back to the tip. I just want to leave that one. This one is starting to grow nicely, but this one is the one that looks like it's growing straight. So what I'm gonna do is just cut these back, just like that, to keep that moving in that direction. Now this one is out of control. So you'll see that this is grown. Usually I'd like to kind of cut these at 3 to 4 inches. This is probably at 6 inches, and you want to cut it down to like maybe the 3rd bud. So I'm gonna cut it right here so that it's not growing outwards. Now here, same thing here. This one is too thick. I'm gonna cut it down there. Let me see, 1, 2, I could probably cut it down here. All right, same here, it's too much. I'm gonna train this again horizontally to the fence. But the way that this tree has been grafted is that each of these is a different apple. So I think we have like Liberty and Enterprise. I can't remember the last one. See, I'm just gonna do, just like that, just to train it. You see I have others here. They kind of fade together nicely. This one's already trained very well. This has the potential to grow kind of crazy, so I'm just gonna clip that off. This one, I didn't even see it. These are growing too much. So I'm gonna clip. I'm gonna put the fence on later, but you'll see at least how it's growing. The only thing that bothers me about this one is this is super short on this side, and there's nothing I could really do to increase the size of that. I can't remember if this one was on flowering, but you're gonna get some really nice buds there, and then that's where the fruit is going to grow. And you wanna keep it close so that the fruit is growing close to the stem. I could see I have quite a bit of work on this one. This one is bushy, and this one was flowering. I could see some fruits developing down there, which is fantastic. This one had coordinated its flowers with our neighbor's apples and also all of our crab apples. So I know that this one got pollinated for sure. Now, if you step back, you can see that you really want to train it horizontally parallel to the fence. And there's a lot that's happening that's going up. Those are the ones that we want to take care of. Like this is very easy to know that you want to clip that one, because you want to minimize the vertical growth in this case. Same thing with this one.
And it's coming toward you.
Yes, it's coming towards us. This one as well, I'm gonna cut this whole thing off because we already have a branch right there. Here as well, I'm just gonna clip this down. So much growth. I mean, unbelievable amounts of growth. You can see that there's some fruits that are starting here. This was some flowers. Here are some flowers down here as well. So we'll have two different kinds of apples, hopefully, if there's no frost. So I'm gonna clip this, clip this. It's almost painful to cut all this growth, but that's what we want to do. Now this one needs to be trained because this looks like the lead now. You see that? And you want to do this relatively while it's still young, because if it starts to harden up and get more mature, it's going to be harder to bend. And I'm going to bring it down. This is just to train it.
Just to train it.
Yeah,
so
it's not
like
taking. Yes, it's not taking any weight.
Okay, yeah, because there's a pretty big stem here.
People would normally put this on like a wall and train it to a wire. But since we already have a wire here with the fence, I figured this is a no-brainer. So this one, I just have to be a bit more gentle with because I want to train it to this one. I like this tape. I'll leave a link to it. I find it to be really useful. I use it in vegetable garden as well. Help train clematis on fences. Now, this looks like I could train that down. And you see that this last one is kind of growing up towards it. So I want to train this over here and give it some airspace. Now let's see what's happening here. You see that we have 3 possible competing ones. This is growing up, this is growing totally perpendicular, and this one's going out. So I'm gonna make a choice, and I'm gonna cut these and leave this one. Only because, even though that was a smaller growth, it's growing in the correct direction that I want. This one's already growing in that direction, but I'm going to use this to guide it anyway. Let's step back. Yeah, I see another one that I haven't seen before. This one, I think I'm also gonna cut back further because it was growing too far up. This one's also growing down. I'm gonna snip this. This one too. And I'm by no means an expert at this. I'm just kind of learning as I go from people who have done this their entire profession. Yeah, that looks different now. It looks much cleaner. Before you saw all of the leaves kind of going up. Now I'm gonna come out here throughout the year and make sure that this is growing properly, because a week and a half ago there weren't many leaves on this. A week and a half ago was probably just starting to flower. Maybe 2 weeks ago there weren't many leaves on this, so it's quick. The other thing that I'm gonna be doing is just adding a little bit of biotone to the apples. And I have more than just those apples that you saw. Because again, these are plants that are going to be developing fruits throughout the year. That takes a lot of energy. So fertilizing throughout the growing season is well advised. This is going to be a weeping morris. So this is a mulberry. You can see it already has some fruits on it. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of the fertilizer here for that one. And then these are some apples that I'll be talking about in a later video. These are vertical apples, so they're columnar. They grow roughly around 8 to 10 feet tall and only about 2 to 4 feet wide. So if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of space, like this backyard is only 1/8 of an acre, and you can see it's still an ample size for space, but if you're in a more urban setting or suburban setting and you have small acreage, and you want to fit a lot of trees, this would be an example of what you could do. This one is called North Pole, and you'll notice that this other one behind you actually has some apples already starting. And this one is white icicle, so this one has like a whitish green apple. What's nice about how these are planted along the fence line is when the water comes, you get all this mulch and it attracts basically all this water down here. So we almost never have to irrigate these. I'll be doing another video in the near future of some of the more edible plants. Obviously you could see some of the edible plants that we're maintaining down here in the meadow house, the cottage gardens. And they're not taking up a lot of space, especially these ESPALIER apples. They're right up against the fence line. So that vertical nature of those plants is really a space-saving opportunity for people who want a garden for a small space. But I'll continue to fertilize some of the extra roses, but you really get the gist. But thank you so much for joining me out on this beautiful spring day with all this growth. You can see that the tulips are past their prime, except for these buttes. These are nice late bloomers. They took a while to bloom, but you could see that they're still standing strong. And we'll see what else is blooming in a week or two. Bye.